could have started to gain traction.
Yes.
That makes sense.
So according to Dice/Connor, Christian...
Can we not call him Connor, please?
Nope, he's John Connor.
Please?
No. R.C. Christian was probably a high-ranking member of a, quote, Luciferian secret society. Is that how you would say that? Luciferian?
Luciferian? I think so. Yeah, I think
a secret society based on Lucifer.
Okay, there you go. At the forefront of the New World Order.
Yes. Quote, the elite are planning to develop successful life extension technology in the next few decades that will nearly stop the aging process. And they fear that with the current population of Earth so high, the masses will be using resources that the elite want for themselves.
Actually, the masses will be using resources that the elite will be selling them. Yeah. So I think the elites will be just fine with that.
This goes on to get a little crazier. Quote, the Guidestones are the New World Order's 10 Commandments. They're also a way for the elite to get a laugh at the expense of uninformed masses as their agenda stands clear as day and the zombies don't even notice it.
Their agenda. So
and again,
first of all...
Well, I was going to say, these elites, again, you talked about there was Microsoft founder Bill Gates, and I can't remember who the other... There was
Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah, so they're saying these elites are going to stop the aging process, and they're not going to age anymore, so they'll live forever. So they don't want the peons using up all the good stuff that they're going to need 1,000 years in the future?
Yeah, they want the peons to die, and the elite to be the only ones that are left. And they'll stop aging, and they'll be able to create a new world order because they'll never die.
Yeah. But if they're elite, they're probably going to want some of those lower echelons to, I don't know, be farming their food and cleaning their houses?
Yeah, I don't know that the conspiracy theorists go that far to understand. I think maybe the assumption is robots. I mean, John Connor would know about robots.
Oh, yeah.
And we saw how well that worked.
Yeah.
Well, here's another kind of absurd point here. So they're planning to develop successful life extension technology. Well, you can't really plan medical breakthroughs 2 decades from now. I mean, that's just simply,
that's true.
It's going to happen or not. You really don't have any control over it.
Also, we'll go ahead and point out the fact that would happen next year sometime.
Yeah.
In the next decade is what he said.
They've actually been making a lot of advances in aging research. Nothing to slow it down yet, but
except for
sowing
young mice to old mice.
Yeah.
That works, apparently.
So,
the injection of young blood into old mice? Is that what you're talking about?
It wasn't injections. They said.
Where they took the blood of young mice and put it into old mice, and the old mice were like, "Woo! I'm 2 weeks old again."
Maybe that was the next step.
So old people have to go out and bag them a young one.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then take it into go into the clinic with them. So, I'll stitch them to me.
So I'm not coming over here anymore. So can we move on to the next theory?
Yeah,
some more rational stuff. I guess it's not so much of a theory as it is a revelation. I know Joe really likes this part of it because he emailed me like 20 times this week and is like, but did you read that? Did you read the article?
Did you read that thing I sent you?
Did you read that thing I sent you? Did you read it? Did you read it?
It's kind of
it's interesting. Did you read it? Did you read it?
Yeah, it's got a lot of biological or biographical it's got a lot about the history of R.C. Christian's relationship with the local banker.
Yeah.
Who was actually his liaison for the whole thing.
So there's 2 people.
And why didn't you email this to me? You jerk.
I know.
You wanted to keep me. I get it. I'm a mushroom. It's okay.
Yeah, no. I figured that if Devin wanted to use it, then she would go ahead and send a copy to you too.
Nope.
I just basically sent it to her and said, "Have you seen this? You should."
All right. Well, what is this? Because this is obviously going to be new to me.
It is gonna be. So we have to go a little into the backstory again to make this story make sense.
So this is before everything gets built and erected?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've titled this theory, Wyatt Martin Knows.
Because he is the only one who actually does know.
He actually does know. Wyatt Martin was a very important person at the Elberton Bank. I can't remember if he was the manager or the president or
he did something.
What. He was...
He was the man who made the decisions?
Yes, he was involved in the day-to-day.
He was like on top of the whole thing.
He did deal with actually granting loans and things like that.
Okay.
And Joe Fendley with an N. I'm not pronouncing the N. It's fine.
Owner of what company?
Elberton Granite.
Okay.
Was approached by this man
R.C.
He was
Christian.
apparently an elegant gray fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Not his skin, his hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
an
a little
alien.
gray person.
Let's not go there even.
Hello, I would like to order some great walking pieces of stone.
He was well dressed and spoke eloquently and was very educated. And R.C. Christian, approached Joe Fendley, there's the N, asking him, kind of outlining his project, the Georgia Guidestones.
Okay.
And, said that he represented a small group of concerned American citizens, and these were kind of his parameters. And Fendley said, this guy's crazy. We've never mined anything. Quarried?
We've never quarried anything.
We've never quarried anything even half the size of what he's asking for. I don't know if we're going to be able to do this, but I guess if he's going to give us the money, we'll try.
Mm-hmm. What the heck?
Yeah. That makes sense. Okay.
R.C. Christian goes over to the bank. Fendley takes him over to the bank. He's friends with Wyatt Martin.
I think he just sent
knows
him over
him.
there. He just told him, Wendell Martin at the bank. He sent him over there.
Wyatt, yeah.
Yeah. Or excuse me, Wyatt Martin. I apologize.
I don't know if he sent him over there. He walked him over there. It's, a little unclear. This was a while ago. And he says, okay, we'll talk to Wyatt Martin and see if you can get a line of credit, if you can get the money or anything like that. And if you can get the money, we'll, I'd be crazy to say no to the $2,500,000 or whatever he's offering.
Yeah, all kinds of money, yeah.
Yeah, lots and lots of money. So Christian goes over to talk to Martin
At the bank.
and Martin says, okay, well, who are you?
And what do you want to do?
He kind of, just takes him through it again. R.C. Christian does. And R.C. Christian openly admits, okay, well, R.C. Christian isn't my real name. It's a pseudonym.
Mm-hmm.
And I will never reveal to you my true identity. Of course, this is a problem for Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this guy's saying, well, we want you to do this thing. It's going to be really expensive, but you don't know who I am.
Yeah,
but he wasn't asking for a loan. He just wanted banking services, basically.
Yeah, he wasn't asking for a loan. He said, I'm good for it. You can, get the money transferred from my bank. Here's the account information or whatever. I think he ended up making deposits in lots of banks around the country and then having them wired directly to Martin's bank.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was very shadowy.
That's what he ended up
New
doing.
World Order.
But essentially, Martin said, okay, you know what? I need to think about this, so come back on Monday. We'll talk about it. So I'll read. Christian came back to the bank Monday. Martin explained that he could not proceed unless he could verify the man's true identity and, quote, get some assurance that you can pay for this thing. Eventually, the two negotiated an agreement. Christian would reveal his real name on the condition that Martin promised to serve as his sole intermediary, sign a confidentiality agreement pledging to never disclose the information to another soul, and agreed to destroy all documents and records related to the project when he was finished.
That's kind of counter to what banks like to do.
Yes. But again, there's a lot of money.
True.
And I guess I haven't mentioned yet that Alberton's sole huge industry is the granite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's what they do.
That's
And
what
now
they do.
Now their big industry is the Georgia Guidestones.
Yeah. I don't know. I assume that it's late 80s. People aren't buying huge bulk things of granite.
Yeah, the economy
These two
was
guys-
not roaring at that point.
Here, this man comes in and says, I'm going to give you guys a crap ton of money to do this project for me. I can assume that it would be hard to turn him down on that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. So Wyatt Martin is alive today. He's 78 years. Well, I guess he was 78
He'd be
years
in his
old.
80s right now.
So he's in his 80s. But he is alive, and he to this day has still not disclosed any information about R.C. Christian.
R.C. Christian, for his part, hasn't been heard of since roughly around the turn of the millennium.
About this day, yeah.
Roughly around 9/11 time.
They apparently would write letters back and forth. They had correspondence. Martin says that every single time a letter came to him, it came from a different place. He never sent letters from the same city.
They corresponded for years, though.
For years, they apparently became kind of good friends. And Martin, again, for his part, gets really upset when he hears all of these kind of Satanist, New World Order, Freemason theories, because, he kind of says, I don't know, but I had correspondence with this man for a long time, and he didn't strike me as that kind of person. He struck me as a really, truly good man who was just a little concerned about the future of America.
The state of things.
State of things.
Yeah. Who's not? So anyway, back to that time, and then he goes and sees Fenley again with that little model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he brings a little model in a shoebox.
A
A little wooden model.
Of what he wants made.
And gives it to him, and pays them, and
Bunch of specs along with that.
yep. And that's kind of the story.
So the banker is the only one who has any concrete information of who the guy really was, and he's not fessing up.
Yeah, Fenley.
He's holding true to his word and not disclosing.
He is,
Yeah.
and the only thing that he didn't follow is that he's still, as of the last time anybody interviewed him, he still had all the documents, including R.C. Christian's true identity.
But he wasn't showing them.
He wasn't. No, he had them squirreled away. He thought he would maybe write a book, but he probably, I don't think he never really got around to it.
Probably at
so I
this
guess
point
it's
won't.
totally possible that, upon this death, I don't know how true to this promise his family may end up being or anything like that, but I guess it's possible that when Wyatt Martin dies, they'll release the documents and we'll know
Possibly.
for sure. Or they might not, or maybe he'll dispose of them before he dies.
Yeah, or he might put it in his will that they should be buried with him or something like that.
Yeah, they'll be putting a time capsule under the Jordan Nightstones.
Yeah, actually, he's put in his will that they should be burned, and then the ashes.
Yeah,
should be
because don't put him in his
No,
grave,
it's gonna get dug-
his
it's gonna
casket,
get
because
dug
people will
up
be taking
overall.
him off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. Not a good idea in retrospect.
So the one other theory, which I honestly kind of like, is that Martin and Fendley just did it together.
Doubt it.
That R.C. Christian isn't a real person. That they kind of concocted this story. Martin financed it. Fendley was trying to promote more granite use.
The business.
The business.
Show what they could do.
They thought this weird mystery will promote people buying granite things, will promote interest in the area.
It'll bring tourists in.
and
And
money
best of all,
in.
I mean, this was the late 70s. Things were really in the doldrums, economically speaking, back
Oh,
in the
yeah.
day.
Yeah.
And if Fenley was his friend, then his business was kind of teetering. So
Mm-hmm.
Martin may have wanted to throw a huge amount of business his way, and this would be a lot of business.
Yeah, and that you could
Obviously.
say, oh no, it was this weird secret person that nobody else recalls seeing around town. It's a small town. Nobody really recalls seeing this man around town. It was this big mysterious project that took a year to complete. It got a lot of workers working. It got a lot of people doing a lot of stuff.
They had to hire. I heard they hired translators from the UN to translate the English message into all the other languages.
I don't know about that.
No.
They may have. I know that they had to bring in special equipment from all around the country to cut the edges of the stone and stuff like that. So it was this big project. So there is a little bit of a theory out there that it was just these two guys. They decided to concoct this story of this weird, mysterious, pseudonymed man
To drum up business.
to drum up business and tourism in the area.
Could be.
Well,
Could be
probably
they-
drummed up business, but I don't know about tourism.
Yeah, I don't know about tourism.
It could be they were just out in the woods smoking a joint, and they witnessed a drug deal gone bad, and there's a big shootout. Both banditos die, and they walk over, and there's this big suitcase full of cash laying there.
And they decide to make the guide stones instead of
Yeah,
taking
they're
it.
thinking, dude, man, wow, this is really wild, man. What do you want to do with the money? Man, let's build an American Stonehenge, man.
Dude, man, wow. What do
Dude,
you want to
just
do
blew
with
my
all this
mind.
money?
Yeah.
I think that's probably exactly what they
That's,
said.
that's the
that's
iconic
precisely
phrase
it.
from today.
Dude, man, wow.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, with that-
here's my theory.
Oh, you have a theory. Oh, I think Steve has
Yeah,
a
I
theory
do too. But
Yeah.
go ahead, Joe. Go.
Okay. So we're not going to know, I don't think, who R.C. Christian was. It's
That's
not
probably
likely.
true, yeah.
But the big mystery is who is this shadowy cabal of people that financed him? Who were his employers? And I have the answer to that.
Oh, who?
Yes, a very rich guy who lives in Georgia and who who thinks and says kind of woolly-headed stuff like this. And I'm talking about, I'm holding up the commandments in front of the microphone here.
Because everybody can read them that way.
Yeah, exactly. And so this person is Ted Turner.
Huh.
He is the guy. It's not a group of Americans. That was just a subterfuge to say it was a group. It's just Ted.
So that's your entire theory is you're pointing it to Ted.
Yeah, I'm standing by it.
How old was Ted then?
I don't know. He was born in 1938.
So old enough, yeah.
He's been in his 50s.
Yeah.
And he was already fairly wealthy by that time. He's not nearly as wealthy as he is today, but he had some books.
Okay, Ted Turner theory.
Okay.
Well, no, the thing that really irks me about this whole story is when people go off on the Freemasons and the New World Order and all of this stuff and spazzing out over what it means. When I looked at it, when I first read this, and I've kind of held this viewpoint the whole time, this was made, this thing had to have been designed in the late 70s, which means somebody was thinking about this probably in the early to mid 70s, which is, this is in a time of turmoil and love, and we should be good to one another, and there's all these social values that are people.
Sure.
And I get the feeling that this is kind of a bunch of wealthy hippies almost. Like, be good to the earth, man.
Kind of
don't
like
have too many kids, man.
Trustafarians, basically.
Yeah, don't kill things, man. Like, love the planet. And that's what we're saying, but we just wrote it in this fancy way because we had a thesaurus, man. Like, that's really just what I feel like it is it's a bunch of guys who are like, we just think that you should do these things to be good. And then everybody just went completely off the rails and hung a serious turn at Albuquerque and have just kept going down that path when the whole thing to me is just be good to each other and be good to the planet and things will be okay.
To each other.
Be excellent, dude.
I'm gonna
exactly.
When I get rich enough, I'm gonna have one put up, and it's gonna have stuff like I'd like to buy the world a Coke. It's gonna be a bunch of stuff like
sprinkles is sprinkles.
No, I mean, I'd like to buy the world of Coke. It'll be number 7, and then number 8 will be Synergy.
No.
Yeah.
Well, if we see that pop up anywhere, we'll know
it's
you.
me.
Yeah. Oh, that's mine. I don't know. I mean, you're kind of liking the idea that it was just those two.
I kind of do. Yeah, it seems like the most reasonable to me. I don't know financial history of Wyatt Martin. I don't know if he actually had access to that kind of money.
I doubt that he was stinking rich enough to do that. Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know if there's some unfinished embezzling charges against anyone. I don't really know the story there, but I kind of like that.
Well, and it could have been actually, it could have been that he knew the whole group, and they were actually wealthy people from Elbert County, which is a little bit of a backwater. It's in way north Georgia, by the South Carolina border.
Yeah. And
kind of off the beaten path. And now that they have the Georgia Guidestones there, it's now on the beaten path. It's got a major, serious, world-famous tourist attraction in it now.
Yeah.
So I could picture some county elders getting together and just approaching Martin and just saying, "Oh, hey, look, we're going to do this, but we're going to do it on the sly, create some mystery, which will create even more buzz and even more interest. And so you'll never, nobody will get to know who we are."
It might be.
Well, because that does answer one serious question, which is why Elbert County, Georgia.
Well,
not that I'm putting down Elbert County, but of all the places to put this thing.
Well, Elbert County, Georgia is the granite capital of America.
Yeah, but there's other granite places.
Yeah, but it was probably the cheapest there.
Well, I'm sure it was cheapest, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, that's just a possibility.
Because the last thing you want to do is go to the second cheapest guy and find out he can't quarry it big enough, and suddenly you've got a monument that's in danger of being crushed by elves.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, we're going back to that analogy.
We're going back to that analogy.
Calling it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my thoughts. Is that if you're going to build it, we want to build a tourist attraction. It's going to be called American Stonehenge. And well, if people know that it's just a fake that you built just to draw tourists in, that's not going to have any sort of draw whatsoever.
Yeah.
Whereas,
you have a point.
It's a mystery.
The big mistake there, of course, is that there is an American Stonehenge, and it's in Washington.
In Maryhill.
It's down. Yeah, it's in Maryhill.
Yeah.
When was that built?
Oh, I don't know.
The early 20th century, thinking.
I'm going to agree with that. The early 20th century.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this was a listener suggestion.
Who was our listener?
It was from a guy named Chandler.
Hey, Chandler, thank you.
Yeah.
Very cool story.
So
Good
thanks.
idea. I don't remember having come across this one in the past. So
That can't be true.
I probably have, but I just don't remember it. So I'm glad that it was
Forgot about
suggested
it.
to us because I wouldn't have thought to pick it up.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't have either. I don't know why, though. Another one of those, we talk about this sometimes where we've known about these unsolved mysteries for a long time, and we don't think about it until somebody says, hey, you guys should do this mystery, and we're like, oh, yeah, we should do that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that mystery. I love that mystery.
Yeah, I'd actually heard about this quite a while back, and
then forgotten about it, right?
No, I hadn't forgotten about it. It's on my list of possibilities, but I just never got around to doing it because I thought it was really pretty lame.
Okay. Well, glad
you've been proven wrong.
Really enjoyed this story.
Yeah.
So the pictures, or the drawing for sure, and maybe another picture too.
Yeah, probably be just the drawing.
But the links will also be up on our website, which is thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You can listen there, or you can listen to us on iTunes. If you do listen to us on iTunes, leave us a comment and a rating.
We'd really appreciate it.
Really
we
like
that
those.
Stuff. You can also listen to us where?
Oh, on Stitcher.
Yeah.
You can stream us directly on any mobile device if you forget to download us off iTunes. You can find us and like us or join our group on Facebook.
Ooh, we're on Facebook?
We are. Yeah.
Right on.
And if you want to suggest something to us, if you have any
ideas. Just want to send us some fan mail.
Yeah, or you just want to say hi, which we kind of like to. You can feel free to send us an email. That email address is thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. I guess that's it.
That's
yeah,
it.
I think that's all of the avenues.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the different electric avenues.
Yeah. All right, well, good.
Higher.
So, yeah, another week, another mystery solved.
Oh, we solved this one, did we?
Yeah, Ted Turner.
Oh, I see. I didn't realize. Well, I guess we'll get on out of here then.
All right, toodaloo, folks.
All right, talk to you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Thinking Sideways is not brought to you by The Itch on my right leg. Instead, it's brought to you by CrimeCon! That's right, on June 9th to June 11th at the JW Marriott in Indianapolis, we're going to be at CrimeCon, along with a whole bunch of other podcasts and a whole bunch of other really cool crime investigators and reporters, people that you've been watching for years and you know you want to see. So, you need to be there, because it's going to be cool. And as a special offer to our listeners, if you go to crimecon.com and enter the promo code Sideways20, you'll get 20% off your admission. Crimecon.com and Sideways20.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't get it.
I brought the aliens.
You must unlearn what you have learned.
I don't know.
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Thinking Sideways, the podcast. I am Devin, joined this week by
Joe.
And
Steve.
This
yeah,
week.
this
Oh.
week.
Okay, special
Yeah.
episode.
Special episode starring Steve and Joe. Joe and Steve.
I just want to know who the other two guys are, because really, he's spreading crumbs all over my chair, and it's really annoying.
From
me.
that ham sandwich, I think.
I kind of
That
suspect.
bastard!
I kind of suspect we're being transitioned out, dude.
Yeah.
Oh well, hello retirement.
This week we're going to talk about a mystery that's going to make half of you really happy and half of you turn off immediately. And that's an internet mystery.
Because everybody loves a mystery that's in the tubes.
I like them. I think they're super interesting. Some of our listeners like them, but it turns out a lot of our listeners hate them. And that's why we're like not top rated in true crime.
I guess, but I should say this before you turn it off. There is a little international intrigue involved.
There's some spy stuff going on, maybe.
Espionage.
You know, that just,
Germ warfare.
possible state actors involved, or possibly not. You know,
Wait, does a computer virus count as germ warfare?
Yeah.
I guess
Okay.
so. Sure.
I
Yeah,
mean, if
why not?
Beatles do, I guess, you know, why
Yeah.
not, right? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This week we're going to talk about GhostNet, which is also Yulinghua in Chinese. But we're going to call it GhostNet.
I like that better.
I'm not saying that a bunch of times.
GhostNet. I like it. Sounds like a movie.
Ready to jump
So
right in?
that's a lady at the top of the stairs that is only seen like once a year. GhostNet kind of ghost?
Yeah.
Wrong kind of ghost?
Fishing with a net. Ha. Okay.
I get it now.
Failed bad joke.
Yes.
Pretty bad.
All right, I'll get out of the way.
Okay.
Start it up.
In 2009, researchers from the University of Toronto's Munk Center and the Cambridge University, from here on out, we're going to refer to them as the InfoWars Monitor, concluded a 10-ish month joint investigation that was requested by a representative of the OHHDL.
Office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama.
Yep, Office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And this meeting took place, the request took place in Geneva, which is a safe space. As
For
we all
him,
know.
anyway.
For some people. The investigation uncovered one of the most widespread hacks in history, perhaps the most widespread hack in history. Certainly, I would say the most widespread hack that we're aware of.
I would agree with that final phrase.
Yeah,
that we're aware of.
There's probably a
Which
much
means
bigger
it
one
wasn't
going on now.
Yeah, and that just means that it wasn't the best hack. But computers in at least 103 countries, yes, you heard me right, 103 countries were affected, and researchers think that it was almost 1,300
Individual computers.
Yeah, not 1,300
computers.
countries, I hope.
No.
Yeah.
No. In general, it is believed that China was the perpetrator of this attack, but no one can be certain, and I have my doubts, which is why I thought this would be a good mystery. And these computers mostly belonged to embassies, governmental ministries, and then almost all of the Dalai Lama's exile centers were affected as well. And the thing is, even though GhostNet was discovered as recently as 2011, at least one government, Canada, has uncovered an instance of GhostNet, or the bug that is referred to as GhostNet. They discovered an instance of that, and it was in the Canadian Official Finance Department was where the computer that was infected was discovered. This is, of course, according to an anonymous source, because governments don't readily admit things like this.
The computer was probably a hand-me-down from the foreign ministry.
Yeah, probably.
Can't
Well,
imagine
and
that
I
the
saw-
Chinese are interested in the Canadian finances.
I saw something about, it was like a year or so after all this got done, another one was found in India, and I think another one was traced in Iran. So, I mean, it keeps popping up.
Yeah, despite the fact that, and we'll talk about in a little bit, we're going to kind of delve into the whys and hows of this, and we'll talk about why it was so prevalent, and it's because it was a pretty dang good hack. So let's jump in to the first how. We're going to talk about tech. So we're going to talk about tech.
Cool.
And it's going to be a little boring, I'm sorry. I don't think it's boring, but I think a lot of people are going to think it's boring.
No, I see lots of joke opportunities in the title of this that is the subhead.
Yeah, I think it'll work out well.
So first we're going to talk about Trojans. And for those of you who don't know, Trojans are giant horses that once roamed the land before shedding their physical form and evolving into an internet-based life form.
You left out the soldiers inside.
Yeah, they reproduce by sending out mass emails and hoping that some dummy will download them, thus giving them access to anything that the computer's attached to, and becoming mini Trojans. Do-do-do. Yeah, that's how that works, right? That's what they are?
Not exact.
No? Okay.
Well, yeah.
It's close.
It's a cute description,
But it's what a Trojan horse is, right? I would hope. And so basically this is just a Trojan virus is a delivery system, so that it's like a little hidden.
Like the horse, you let it into your city, and then you just go to bed, and then overnight it spits out some soldiers, kind of like that.
It is. It's very similar.
Except in your computer, it spits out a little line of code that builds itself like a virus, and away it goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this Trojans can install anything from like small bits of spyware to keylogging tech to bugs that will totally and completely take over your computer. And in our case, the Trojan known as Ghost Rat, and yes, that is a 0 instead of an O,
in Ghost.
GhostRat. And GhostRat allowed hackers to gain total and real-time control of any computer running Windows. It only infected Windows computers.
Yeah, good old Windows.
Which is, was one of the original selling points of Macs, is that they don't get infected, but that's not true anymore.
That we know of, yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. GhostRat could even utilize computers as surveillance machines by clandestinely turning on the audio recorders and the cameras. And
the microphone and the camera?
Yeah. Well, and they could record both of those things, remotely or whatever. But basically, yeah, they would just turn on the camera and the mic and be able to totally surveil a room, any room that the computer is in. And that's one of the origins of, people like me, even though I have a Mac, put little pieces of tape over their camera because you can turn the camera on without the little light showing that the camera's on being on.
Yeah,
and
that's
then
why I
somebody's
cover mine.
surveilling you.
Have you guys watched the TV show Black Mirror?
The
British show?
I've seen a couple
I've seen a few
but not very
episodes.
much
Season
of it.
3, Episode 3 goes right down exactly what you're talking about in terms of gathering information and using it against people.
I was going to say that if you watched Mr. Robot, it's like the first frickin' episode has an instance of this. And in that case, that hacker was gathering surveillance information to blackmail people, like they were gathering pictures of somebody to blackmail somebody. But there are obviously larger implications and uses for surveying.
Yeah, just
people.
Surveillance in general. Yes.
Yeah.
That's there's one of the new smart TVs that has, you can talk to it, Panasonic, whatever, do this, and people have figured out how to hack those so that they're it's a listening device.
Well,
in
that
your
was
room
one
now.
of the things with Kinects too.
Yeah,
It's because it's always recording. I don't want to think about.
I just can't wait for in the future courtroom drama where Alexa is brought in as a witness.
Yeah, because that totally didn't just happen.
Yeah, did it happen? Well, yeah, no, actually, I'm talking about Alexa actually sitting in the witness box. But, but I think, I know what you're talking. They do
But
grab
this kind
stuff.
of stuff, we've all heard of the Internet of Things. You connect your fridge and your TV and your microwave and your toaster to the internet, and then you can control it from your smartphone. And it turns out that's a really bad thing because the security and the encryption on those devices turns out is really, really bad because initially everybody was like, well, who's going to hack your fridge? Except we've seen those instances where there's the nanny cam and the teddy bear that you can use your smartphone with, and then somebody walks in the room and the bear is talking in Russian to the baby. I mean, it's totally a thing because they just seem so innocuous, these little devices.
That's why I'm not a big believer in the Internet of Things, personally.
Oh, no, the Internet of Things is dumb.
Yeah.
I disagree. I like the Internet of Things. I think that there's some improvements that can be made,
big time.
certainly, but I think that that's just part of, new wave technology implementation.
Oh, but just another fun thing in the news that was just a week or two ago. The cops busted a guy with a pacemaker because he was making his big alibi was there was a fire and he was struggling to escape from the fire or something. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they managed to download information from his pacemaker.
The pacemaker's record.
The pacemaker basically said, no, this guy's heart wasn't beating fast at all.
Oh my God.
And he was busted.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so all these digital devices, they're recording the crap out of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, long story short, that's why you should put tape over your camera.
Hell yeah.
And don't say anything sensitive around your computer because it's listening all the time.
I don't have mine on. My camera's always exposed. I say all kinds of things to my computer.
I know, and that's why people secretly have pictures of us.
They have even better pictures of Steve.
So GhostRat, back to the story, was a specific kind of Trojan. And it is most often referred to as an APT or an advanced persistent threat. Often, Trojans will be sent out just kind of, like those emails from the Nigerian prince, just
shotgun.
Really just to as many people as they can possibly send them to on the hope that a couple people will be real dumb and infect their computer, and then they go for heavy payload real quick. and then they get eradicated from the computer, but the hackers already have what they wanted. Oftentimes, as we were talking about with, trying to get information that you could blackmail somebody with, or, any financial records or just passwords or things like that. APTs, however, are pretty much the opposite of that. They're usually targeted at one organization, be it a corporation or a government or a ministry or something like that. And they usually have inside intel on how to get into the system. Pretty frequently, APTs are executed with like old school espionage skills.
AKA a guy sticking a USB stick in a computer?
Well, more like social engineering to get to the point where that guy can stick that USB stick in to a computer. Okay. Or even, so that they know.
And by social engineering, you mean what?
Okay, so social engineering is a term that generally refers to the old school manipulation of people.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, but I know what social engineering used to be called, but by social engineering, you're talking about actually manipulating people
same thing.
In real time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, where, you convince people to do things that they shouldn't necessarily do by talking to them in person. I mean, it's similar to, you can call somebody and start a conversation with them and get information out of them by pretending like you know what you're talking about. Little things like that. Or you can dress up like a janitor and pretend like you're supposed to be in that corporate office and walk around, and 9 times out of 10, nobody's going to be like, hey, excuse me, you're not the usual guy. What are you doing here? They're just going to ignore you, and you're going to get away with doing a lot of research or intel work, or, again, sticking a USB in a place that doesn't exist, or it shouldn't exist. I mean, and this is the other thing, right, is that a lot of places say you should never put, it used to be CDs or floppy disks or anything like that, that you don't know what it's on it, don't put it in your computer, because that used to be a pretty standard delivery system for these little bugs, because it would just install into your computer, and then all of a sudden you've infected everything.
Yeah, people would go to Starbucks and leave a flash drive, and somebody would be like, oh, whose flash drive? I don't know. Well, let's see what's on it. Maybe I can find out who it belongs to. Boop, boop, boop. In walks the Trojan.
Yeah, I know. They did a study at some university recently where they left a bunch of flash drives just laying around campus, and if you downloaded it, you got instructions on just bring it back to this department. And they found that like half the people that picked these things up stuck them into their computers.
Yeah.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, and that's where the kind of social engineering thing can come in handy, right? Is if you have a target, a high value target, right? It's like the CEO of a company who's proven to be maybe not as tech savvy as they should be. And So
the CEO of Sideways Co.
Yeah, CEO of Sideways Co. And you want to somehow infect that person's computer. Well, you can go through the arduous process of trying to figure out if there's a backdoor exploit tech-wise where you can, get into hack the mainframe, blah, blah, blah.
Or you can send him a phishing email.
Or even easier, right? You can call his secretary and say, I am supposed to be in this meeting with him. I'm so sorry. Or my supervisor is supposed to be in this meeting with your CEO, and he's running late, and I just need to know, where are they meeting? Please, can you tell me? And the secretary will take pity on you if you try it enough times. And she'll say, oh, they're meeting at this Starbucks. You'll go leave a flash drive where he's going to find it, and oops, it's bait. And that's like an old school kind of social engineering technique, right? Where you make somebody give pity on you, and there you go. But yeah, or you can send a phishing email, which is what we're going to talk about in a little bit. So all of that to say that's one way that APTs are delivered, is by social engineering, and the other way is by spending a lot of money or manpower to expose those backdoor vulnerabilities that exist in all systems. Not necessarily backdoor, but vulnerabilities that exist in every single system. There's always some way that a system is a little messed up.
And it's not cheap to go that route, typically.
No.
Because on the dark web, you can buy a lot of different bits of script and code or full-on assault packages for systems, but that's not a cheap endeavor.
Yeah, it sounds like, from the research that I have been doing just around this project, not for my own anything, don't worry. It sounds like there are a lot of people who make a lot of money, basically make their living on finding these exploits and not exploiting them and just putting it out there on forums and saying, hey guys, just so you know, I have a way to get into this, goes to the highest bidder, and letting a bidding war happen, and then, you know, eventually somebody will say, I will give you $3 million for that one thing.
And they give them the back door to sideways code.
Little,
like zero-day vulnerabilities, that kind of thing?
Zero-day vulnerabilities is the technical term that I've been avoiding because I don't know, because I don't know how many people are going to know it. And yeah, it's a lot of manpower or a lot of money to go that route. It's much easier to just call somebody's secretary and, you know, hope for the best, or send a phishing email. So yeah, all of that to say, again, that APTs are typically very well financed. It is a long-term investment because the goal is to surveil for a very long amount of time. It's not to, it's really quantity and quality over just like
sheer volume.
Yeah.
Extracting
basically
volume at all. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. This is the way I understood APTs, and tell me if I'm wrong here. As I looked at it, is there's two types of ways to rob a bank. There's the smash and grab, where you go in, you grab as much as you can, and you run, and whatever you get. Or you're a bank employee, and you just start funneling funds and embezzling $1,000 a day and do it for as long as you can, because chances are you're not going to get noticed and you're going to get more long term.
I would add it's more like
it's a subtler approach.
It's more like somebody getting a job at a bank to funnel $5 a day.
Yes, yeah. The intention is to funnel it away.
Very little,
tiny amount. I mean, like even just like dropping a roll of coins into your purse every day for 6 or 7 years before you get caught, and then obviously like not spending any of that money. So by the end of your process, you have a ton of money. You have a huge value there. So that's a really good analogy. Yeah.
Okay. You'd have to have a lot of coins to make it worth it. I mean, a roll of quarters is $10.
Yeah. So $10 a day for 7 years, 8 years.
That's what?
Auxiliary income? I don't know.
In quarters?
That's like $3,000 a month, right?
My math skills are hideous.
Yeah, so it's 36 a year.
Yeah, that's right? Because $10 a day.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. That's more than I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, it's only $3,000 a year. That's stupid.
Not enough
That's a lot of laundry.
No.
Yeah, it's not enough to retire, but it's not nothing.
Yeah.
Especially as auxiliary income, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is kind of vague, and we've kind of like gone in a bunch of different directions, but that's because APTs are pretty vague in nature, and the way that they are deployed is oftentimes very different, again, because you don't want to be detected.
Well, it's like in espionage, it's like you don't want to protect your sources. You don't want people to know that they've actually been penetrated. So, you don't just, when you get some information, you don't just run out and act on it, because that tells the other side that, you've been compromised.
And
you show your hand.
And I would encourage our listeners to remember the thing that Joe just said when we get into theories.
No, that occurred to me too, because I've read ahead a little bit too. Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad that you've read ahead.
Yeah.
So there is a 53-page report that was put out by InfoWar Monitor. By Professor Ron Diebert, who's the director at the Citizen Lab at the Munk Center for International Studies at the University of Toronto, and Rafael Rohozinski, I think, who's the principal and CEO at SecDev Group. I read all 53 pages of this, and let me tell you, it was not easy reading.
It's a page turner.
Yeah, I read some of it myself.
Please turn to the
good.
next page.
And I really deeply encourage, if this is a mystery that grabs you, you should read this whole report, because it's really interesting. But if you are just enjoying listening to the sound of my voice, I wouldn't encourage you to read it. We will link it on the website.
Yeah, just play this episode over and over and over again.
Yeah, just on repeat.
That'll be enough.
Yeah. So the next little bit here we're going to do is basically like a too long didn't read of the 53 pages of the report, because I think it's important that we talk about the report and the investigation that happened.
Okay.
The investigation took place in 2 parts. The first part from June to November 2008, and then the second part was December 2008 to March 2009. And again, as I mentioned, the whole push to do this was because there was a request from the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And yes, I am going to say that every single time.
I read it that way in my head every time, so I'm glad you're, because I was going to keep doing it to you otherwise.
I am.
You're going to say, I just got to call him DL.
So in June to November 2008, the first part was an on-site investigation in which investigators took time to figure out what the typical computer and info security practices looked like at the organizations that were infected or that they thought were infected. At this point, they didn't really know how many were.
Well, they didn't know what they were dealing with.
They didn't really know what they were dealing with, but they were trying to identify, is there a good password protocol? Is it possible that somebody just guessed some passwords, right, that got this information? Is there a different way that this information could be leaking? Is somebody inside the office
that
sending...
they had a rat,
Yeah, or even, just things like, did somebody lose a computer and didn't want to admit it? Or, are you guys not shredding your sensitive document? And
suspicious things were happening for the organization itself in terms of reactions and preemptive reactions
from the Chinese and stuff. Yeah,
and we're going to talk about that in a second.
Mm-hmm.
But
that's what prompted them to ask for the help.
Yeah, but basically what the investigators or researchers were trying to do at the get-go was what they used to do on Ghost Hunters, right? Where they would film something suspicious and they'd be like, all right, how can we recreate this with normal environment?